How are you, Mr. Hey, Larry.
Councilman, good to see you. Good to see you too. Trust cheers.
Hey, what's your name?
Yeah, I'm gonna do something with it. No, that's for somebody's order. You can keep that for the box. Yeah, just introduce on the cup. Oh, yeah. Okay. I put over there? Oh, it's my packet. Thank you. Sign what we said. If they want to talk, you translate.
Hey. Well, all right. Thank you.
And all our programming. We have the skills for speakers, and we can tell you how to set it up. Go to our website, gpe.org/smart to get started.
This makes it easy. On video, it's easy.
That's from the last time when you spoke.
Yeah.
We have to make note. You spoke last week.
Oh, yeah.
And,
This meeting is called to order. My name is Mayor Beverly H. Burks, and this is the September Clarkston City Council meeting. At this time, we will have the roll call, starting with Vice Mayor Yasu.
I'm here.
Councilman Carroll,
Present.
Councilman Hassan,
Present.
Councilwoman Johnson, Councilman Perkins,
Present.
and Councilwoman Hopkins.
Present.
Okay. This time we will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, are there any corrections or changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have three separate, two additions and one change, but I'll start with the first one. I move to add public hearing to discuss the transmission of the Clarkston 2040 Comprehensive Plan Update to the Atlanta Regional Commission and Department of Community Affairs. Do I have a second?
Okay. And then what are the other two?
Do you want me to do them all together?
Yes.
The second one is to remove special call meeting from the minutes.
Okay.
And the last but not least is to add to the agenda the approval of contract to appoint Joanna Cowie as interim city manager.
Okay. You have heard the changes to the agenda. Is there any comments or any updates? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passed. We will move on to administrative business, which is the presentation and the approval of the minutes for council meeting 8/4/2021. Work session 8/31. Have you had an opportunity? Yes.
Yes, I have a motion to approve the minutes for council meeting on 8/4/2021 and 8/23. So I'm sorry, and the work session on 8/31/2021.
Okay. It's been properly moved and
I second.
you second, thank you. It's been properly moved and second that we approve the minutes for council meeting 8/4/2021 and work session 8/31/2021. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passed. We will now have the baseball Foundry presentation by Tracy Hart. Mr. Gomez.
Ms. Hart, just come up here to the microphone, please. Going to hear from a presentation from an organization called the Baseball Foundry, looking to expand their baseball, softball, but I think mostly baseball here in Clarkston, specifically utilizing Milam Park. Ms. Hart.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Burks, council members, City Manager Gomez. Thank you so much for your time. My name's Tracy Hart, and I own the Baseball Foundry. And the Baseball Foundry is located in Tucker, Georgia. We are looking to expand use and to partner with Clarkston and manage the public use of your park. We have baseball, softball, and soccer as part of our lineup. What we are looking to do, I went for less is more with this. This was my immediate for you guys to look at. You have a park that's sitting there that's not being used to its fullest capacity. And I realize that parks and recs dollars are usually last in line. They don't get a whole lot in terms of, I don't know, when you're facing big expenses for COVID and other sorts of overhead and, you know, big operational things, parks often get the last of what's left. We are looking to partner with Clarkston and manage the public use of the park. We are looking to improve upon the park by adding 2 structures. It is my understanding that the tennis courts that are there are grossly underutilized. It is also my understanding that the pavilion there is dilapidated and in need of some significant overhaul. It's also my understanding that this is a population and a demographic that has strong ties to soccer, very, very strong ties to soccer, and baseball not that far behind it. We would be looking to add a facility on top of where the tennis courts currently sit. And that facility would be the home of the baseball Foundry. We would move from where we are there. We'd have indoor batting cages, training facility, and training space. We would be also looking to partner with Clarkston High School and middle schools here to be as a way to give back to the community. The second little triangular box that you see over here on the other side would be an indoor futsal court arena. Your community is obsessed with soccer, and at present they have no viable place to go practice their craft. And especially when weather becomes inclement weather, going inside is not an option. There's no place nearby. The improvements, once they're made, obviously become the property of the city of Clarkston. We are looking to gauge your interest to see if this kind of partnership is something that you would be interested in. There are not, this is not an uncommon type of partnership. There are programs all over the state that do this. The one that's the closest probably that you're all familiar with is Druid Hills Youth Sports. It's a nonprofit that manages the entire public park there at Medlock Park. You see the same thing with Murphy Candler. It's quite common to see outside organizations come in and partner with the city or their locale to improve upon the Parks and Recs programs. I understand after meeting with City Manager Gomez that there is currently a moratorium on ball players over the age, I believe it's 12 or 13, for hitting balls in the baseball field because of the pool structure. So as part of our overhaul, in addition to taking over the maintenance of the grounds and the upkeep of it, we would be installing a 40-foot net all the way around the park, such that people can come in and train inside the facility or outside and take live batting practice and live pitching lessons. We live in an era where public parks are quite unfortunately underutilized. And the best way for kids to stay healthy is to stay active. And we don't have a whole lot of activity, especially on this park. And we believe that a partnership could actually benefit both of us. I'm a political scientist by trade. I was in the middle of writing my dissertation, and I found myself stopping my research and focusing it on how parents spend their money with youth sports. And that was 5 years ago. And from that, took my focus away from the American presidency, and it put it on how large groups of people are spending their money and how large groups of people are keeping their kids active and what are the sports that they are active in. And baseball and soccer are it. I have a son that catches, and I suppose they say necessity is the motherhood of all invention. So while I started this as a political scientist and a mom, I am now 2.5 years into a business that is thriving. We have professional baseball players that come visit us frequently during the off season to train. We have very, very highly ranked collegiate ball players in our facility to train. And when I stuck my demographic pole in the ground and started looking around at where were possible places, I kept coming back here. The location is perfect. The community needs it. It's convenient. And that's the whole reason I'm here, is to gauge interest, to see if this is something that's worth pursuing on a long-term conversation. Did you raise your hand, or did you just, oh, okay, okay. And then if there is interest, then we would engage in, we being the baseball Foundry, would engage into a deeper dive, create a formal proposal specifically for the long-term use and lease of the property, and exactly what we see these facilities being used for. In between the two buildings, you'll see some vacant space right there. That is designed to be outside training area for soccer and for baseball. It would be divided with fencing, netting, all the appropriate accoutrements to make sure that players are as safe as can possibly be while they're practicing. I understand that there is another field there. It is higher up, and that it is the council's goal to keep it solely focused on soccer. We would be interested in a partnership with that as well, moving forward. The upkeep and the maintenance of the grounds could stay as natural turf. They could become artificially turfed fields, which allows for use a whole lot of times when Mother Nature decides that it doesn't want to let people play ball, so long as there's not thunderstorms and lightning. And I think that's all I got.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, you have any questions? By Councilman Hassan.
Yeah, I think, can you explain a little bit more when you say we are managing for the whole park? Is it including the pool?
The pool would be something that would stay under the management of the city of Clarkston. I know baseball, I know soccer, but I'm not into aquatics, and the management of the pool facility would stay with you guys. We would take over the management, the maintenance, the upkeep of the turf, the fencing. We would hope at some point that the council would approve lighting so that people could practice outside during the evening hours. Once the clocks change, there's still athletes that want to get out and get their reps in, but come 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock, that's over. So
what is the cost analysis? With the city benefiting from it, or besides, be open for the public, or how are you spending money to upgrade? I just want a little bit on that. Would be
the first and foremost is that this field, as it stands right now, needs significant love. The field is grown over with clover. The field needs to be drugged, probably laser leveled so that it's playable. Mm-hmm. The new fencing needs to be installed all the way around it. There needs to be bleachers or some place for parents to sit along the first and the third baselines. And most importantly, there needs to be a high level net so that players that are over 13 years old can still use the field for practice, but your fence lines are short. So down the first base or the third baseline, you see it's 198 feet. And down the first baseline, if we push into those trees, we can get 198 feet. Dead center field is 255. A player at 14 can hit that.
Are you profit or non-profit?
We are full profit.
Profit.
Mm-hmm.
Stevens. What's the law says about contracting with the government property with a profit?
That would be a legal thing to do. Basically, it would be, the question is whether the city is getting a benefit, which we just heard what it would be. Mm-hmm. So it would certainly be a legal option if the council wants to take it.
We are not opposed to creating a nonprofit organization.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Johnson and then Vice Mayor Yasser.
Financially, what would you be expecting from the city? I don't know if I walked out.
Well, financially, nothing. All the investments and capital improvements would be ours to be made. And, there's any number of ways that we could structure this arrangement, but a lot of times what you see, at least with other organizations locally that have done this type of project, is the capital improvements that are made. So in this case, there would be, turf and stands and lighting and 2 structures immediately become the property of the city of Clarkston because they're on your property. And can you repeat the second half of your question?
That was it. You answered it. I just want to know, was there a cost that you were looking for from
No,
us?
There's no out of pocket from you guys. Usually what happens is you see an offset in rent. So this is what we ideally would like, a long-term land lease from the city of Clarkston, which would grant us access to put 2 facilities in place to partner with your high school and your middle school and local community. Then the capital improvements go to offset what the cost of the lease is, and then it becomes the property of the city.
Okay. And when you say long-term lease, how long were you looking?
At least 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
It's a significant financial contribution. If the fields are turfed, if that's something that we could do, that to turf this field right here is probably about $300,000. Mm-hmm. but then what you offset in maintenance of grass and things you make up in the cost of the turf. The two buildings, the structure is the largest one is about $225,000, and it's permanent. It's a permanent structure cemented into the ground. The other one is about $175,000, and that includes the turf that is physically attached to the structure itself.
Okay, Vice Mayor Yasu.
Thank you. I first want to appreciate you coming and proposing this, and well, not formally, but still presenting this to us. The only question I have is how much do you normally charge the potential users or your clients to use this? Because I'm curious about how much our residents will be paying to use your facility.
We have a tiered pricing structure. So if, for instance, John Doe walks in off the street and he wants to use a batting cage for 30 minutes, he pays $25. Now we have partnerships currently with several local high schools and middle schools. And because of those partnerships, we've decreased our cost. The goal is to increase access and to increase use. So it would be our goal to offer discounted access rates for people who live in the city of Clarkston or students who attend any of the Clarkston schools. There might be adult leagues that want to play soccer, and we would extend those discounts as well. But somebody who's driving in from the city of Atlanta or from Buckhead isn't, in my opinion, going to need the discount. The facility that I built in Tucker, there's not another facility like it in the state of Georgia. It's the only one that does what it does. And we're convinced that giving our players and our customers access to a field is another differentiator for us. Plus, it's just good for the community. It's good for property values when kids are on playgrounds, and it's good for health. There's just so many reasons why using public parks is important.
I had a question. Mm-hmm. Usually when you deal with baseball, the equipment is expensive.
Very.
And so within our community, we have a lot of our children who like soccer, and soccer is inexpensive because if you have a ball and shoot, that's pretty much it. So how would you make it for our kids to be a part of that field when typically the cost between the balls, the bats, all the other equipment, depending on what position you have, would be affordable for them?
We've been quite fortunate to have partnerships with several large corporations. We have donations of equipment, we have donations of gear, and that extends, it flows through us and onto our players. Now, if you're just talking about, somebody in the neighborhood who wants to just come and, play catch with his dad, that's a fundamentally different prospect than perhaps managing a very small youth baseball program. Those costs are very easily offset by the appropriate corporate partnerships.
Okay.
And we've found that actually organizations are quite interested in investing back inside the city.
Okay. Any other? Councilwoman Hopkins.
Well, a couple of points. One, we had actually looked at changing the law on that. No one over 12 is allowed to play. And I think I was the one that put it on the agenda. And then because I wasn't sure the reason behind it, and then realized it wasn't the swimming pool structure, it was the children swimming in the swimming pool and the children's playground and the dog park that could all easily be hit. So I'm not sure, would a 40-foot fence even cover protection for them?
Okay, so if you're looking at your average player, a home run for a 12-year-old is going to be somewhere between 175 and 200 feet. Okay, and that's dead center. Somebody who's 18 years old, a home run for them is going to be well over 300, 325. Okay. If you look at the velocity of the ball, the 40-foot fence more than covers the trajectory. So for it to go all the way out and to be 40 foot over, that person should be drafted. Like, but that's also why we have in the idea here to have it completely enclose the park, such that the fence would go up and it would have a cliff on the inside. So it would, if it's doing its job, it's going to capture the balls.
And this would be a chain link fence?
No, it would not be. If you've driven along, I don't know if any of you have been to Fitzgerald Field in the city of Tucker. They have, you see sort of like traffic light poles. Usually they're black, and it's a mesh netting, black. And so when you're driving by, it's not something that's a huge eyesore. It's not something that's going to rust or wear out. It's weatherproof, and you have a pole in the ground. You go about 20 to 25 feet, you have another pole in the ground, and you have netting. And that netting can be taken down, replaced if it's ripped or torn.
And you can see through it? Okay.
Absolutely. You see it a lot with golf courses. If you've ever driven down Ashford Dunwoody Road, there's a huge golf course right there, and you're driving by netting almost the entire way, and it's almost unnoticeable.
Okay. Now, I did have another part, and this is kind of more for the council, because this seems like a big divergence from what we had discussed last year. It was very clear to us that this area right here was underutilized, and even in the soccer field on the west end of the park, most of the time it's full of volleyball nets in the summertime. Yes. And we had discussed and decided and put into the budget to have 2 people related to parks, one a city tree consultant and then professional park ranger. And part of that was to investigate, to reach out to the citizens and see, if not baseball, would they prefer it being like sand courts, volleyball courts, or some other types of, and how they would like to use that. So that was, I think, our plan and what we had budgeted for, to do kind of a community outreach to see what our residents wanted. So this is kind of picking one and skipping the outreach part of it. So that concerns me a little bit, obviously. I was really hoping for the park ranger to handle these kinds of things and to reach out to the public and find out. The other thing is, this is our only space in Clarkston for such events. We do, movies in the park, and we had our Juneteenth event there. We have lots of events there because it's the only space we've got. We're a 1 square mile town. Would we still be able to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, the goal of this is not for us to, quote, take over your park and prohibit the use. Mm-hmm. The goal is to offload the financial burden from you, to let us occupy some space there. We would have our athletes training there. We have travel baseball teams, so we would have our athletes training out of this facility, but to manage it for the city. So, again, I keep bringing up Druid Hills, but if you look, they have online, the fields are booked this date, and this date for games or tournament play. And then you can go online and book, another field if the organization or somebody in the community wants to book it for other purposes.
Well, and Councilwoman Hopkins, this is just a presentation that Ms. Tracy's presenting to us, so that does not preclude us from continuing the path that we have. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Carroll.
So what is I understand you would deduct some of the capital cost of building the buildings and the rent, but what is the monthly rent that you would propose for a field this size?
The rent would be based first and foremost on the dedicated use which we would be taking, which would be where the tennis courts are and where the pavilion are. And by dedicated use, that's not to say that folks in the city of Clarkston can't come in, but nobody can somebody could hop a fence and use the park or the baseball field, but they can't, on a Sunday when it's closed, they're not going to bust in. So they, the rates are all over the place. Long-term land leases, you can see some of them as low as 99 cents a square foot. And depending on location, they climb into $30 and $40. It depends on where you're located. I think that that's a cost benefit analysis that comes from the continued discussion between my organization and the council to determine, first off, if the council deems this feasible, but second, to make sure that it's structured in such a way that we can contribute as much as we possibly can back into getting to this park into shape. and getting it used again. So that's sort of a deeper dive. But again, the rates are all over the map. I can tell you that the structure right behind the pool is 110 feet by 110 feet. And the structure that would be the indoor futsal arena is, let me double check here. (62 by 100 feet). So that would be dedicated space, if you will, to the structures. The other would be open access. So it would be my assumption, you know, after vetting this with the city's attorney, that there would probably be two different rates that apply to rent. One because of the use and the access.
What's the expectation of the number of people attending and the number potentially of games that you're having? Because one of my concerns is space for parking.
Sure.
And while we have the additional parking on between Popular and East Avenue, you know, typically if you think about the number of people plus the usage of the pavilions on top of that,
I got you.
We need to understand from a numbers, how many people do you anticipate game days to be a part?
We anticipate this facility, if it were to go off exactly as it's been proposed here, this would be nothing but a training facility. It would be used to train our clients, the city of Clarkston's students, and members that live inside the city. It's not intended as a game or a tournament facility.
Okay.
Because one, you do have limitations with parking, but two, the field size needs to be much larger for that. Now, the second field, the one in the back, that could very easily be built into a convertible baseball and soccer hybrid field. And there are plenty of municipalities that have done that. That changes the dynamic significantly. But even then, with one field and tournaments, you're at any given time inside our facility right now, we have 15 or 20 people. And that's pretty consistent from about 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. Weekends and holidays change that, and so does summer vacation. And then once Major League Baseball is out and they are done playing, we have professional ball players that frequent our facility to train, but they usually come in at night after hours when the general public has left. So,
okay. Council, any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Tracy.
I got two questions. Yes. Yeah. So on the note, just one quick question, since you guys are the baseball Foundry, and I think you had emailed us a couple of, sort of an initial presentation as well.
Yes.
And we've talked about how, soccer is one of the more popular sports, I think, in our community. What experience do you have in terms of running soccer programs as an organization, or is this sort of a new venture that you're exploring as a part of this site?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm classically trained as a researcher. I'm an academic. Mm-hmm. I have no experience in baseball organizations, but I know how to hire the right people. My director of baseball operations is currently off playing in the MLB, and the person that we have in talks is soon to retire from professional soccer.
Okay.
From my vantage point as the owner, it's my job to put the right people in place to execute a plan like this. Do I personally have soccer experience? I have none. Absolutely none. But I have people that have a lot.
Sure. So then a follow-up question on that. So we have a number of local organizations and programs. Yep. That, and space is a huge, pretty high value commodity. Yep. Here. Would you, would the organization be open to, instead of bringing new people in, investing or creating, cross-organizational partnerships Absolutely. With local partners to run that program?
Absolutely. The goal is not to push out an organization or to come in and take over. The goal is to get this field space into operational quality and to get people using it. And right now there's not. We are open to partnerships with any manner of people that want to jump in and are working towards the common goal of making sure that we have a park that's accessible and safe, a place where kids can go play, and where people can train.
Yeah. So then the second piece, I think this is getting a little bit into the weeds, but just since we're talking about what would we be, are we even open to this? And I sort of have a question on that, for y'all as well. In terms of making sure that this doesn't become a training spot for kids from Buckhead or kids from Marietta or anywhere else, but it is something where our community is still able to experience the benefits of a facility like this, whether it be baseball or futsal or soccer, indoor soccer. Would you be open to there being some kind of a quota, in terms of a percentage of Clarkston residents, recruitment requirements as a part of the contract?
We would be open to that. We would even actually probably take it a step further. And if let's hypothetically say that this indoor futsal arena is drawing a disproportionate amount of people from, I don't know, Alpharetta. We have to track for insurance purposes who's coming into our facility, what they're using it for. We would be open to, carving that out. And I don't want to call it a profit share because then it makes it sound like the city of Clarkston's out to make a buck, but to then redirect those funds. So a percentage of that comes in from the people who are not locals. How can we redirect that to Clarkston's Parks and Rec? And it could be that you guys want to, I don't know, put lights in or something. We could certainly find creative ways of redirecting the funds from the people that are coming in externally and find creative ways of promoting it so that really the people we're serving are local. Okay. And I don't live in the city of Clarkston, but I live like 4 minutes from here. So for me, this is not only a project for my business, but it's a community investment.
I have a question, Madam Mayor. I don't know if, I'm sorry, if this is for Ms. Cowie, Mr. Kaiser. I just need to know if the area can sustain this type of activity, being near a new development, limited parking. So whoever wants to answer that.
Clearly there is limited parking, but so that is a concern. Now, can you put additional structures on there? Likely, yes, but we would obviously go through the process to obtain an engineering review and if it's the baseball Foundry or whomever into the future to make sure that the land can sustain additional structures or whatever the city decides to do in the future. So I did want to add, this area was created when the park was renovated more than a decade ago to incorporate Little League baseball and possibly even Little League softball. I've been told that my predecessor actually searched to have a youth baseball utilize the field because it was developed as a baseball field. When nearly 3 years ago, the usage was not, the field was not being used for baseball or softball. It was actually the largest users of it for something similar to baseball or softball was kickball. So an adult kickball group was practicing out there. Over the last year and a half, I did request Public Works to begin to overseed the dirt because the heavier usage in that area was for soccer, along with just other areas, but not baseball or softball. So just to give you a little bit of the history, for at least 2 years from what I've been told, and perhaps between Ms. Cowie or Mr. Defnall or Mr. Beck, our Public Works Director, they would be able to explain, but it was utilized by a Decatur group for some time, for at least 1 or 2 years, for Little League baseball, primarily for practices, but again, just the field. And also just to quickly add, I think as, for those who are familiar with baseball or softball, there has been a transition, I would call it, particularly in baseball. And if you look even at the major league level, there has been a little bit of a movement away from urban areas playing baseball. And that's just what has evolved over the last really 40 years. I played baseball all my life growing up. And I will tell you that today, even if you just look at the major league level, probably about 10% of all the players are Black or African American, some that are from urban areas. Nearly a third are Hispanic. They kind of come from all different areas in a metro area, and of course still the largest majority being white. 40 years ago, it was the opposite. Nearly a third of all major league players were Black or African American. There was much more of an impetus and a much more playing in urban settings. That just, I think the growth and the more popularity in football and basketball have overtaken baseball, particularly in urban settings. Major League Baseball and minor league baseball have had huge campaigns to try to bring back the interest of baseball in urban settings. The Baseball Foundry and other organizations are doing something very similar to encourage folks to play. It can be a little bit more expensive, as was said before, relative to other youth sports, but the organizations like Baseball Foundry and others are, again, taking significant steps to try to do more and to enter into these types of agreements, but which ultimately are the decisions of whether cities would like to enter into these types of agreements.
And if I could just add on to that briefly, in terms of parking and traffic flow, the preponderance of our clientele are kids from the age of about 10 to about 17 years old. So the peak traffic time for us is right now. So the pool, I'm guessing, would be closed at this point. The park would probably be winding down. I'm guessing the park closes at 30 minutes post dusk. And so our burden on the parking spaces, it's not something where I foresee, people circling and circling and circling, and they got a kid with a pool noodle and they're screaming to get to the pool and they can't because we've taken all the spots. Most of our clients come in after 3 p.m. and before 8. And that stands all year long.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I also just briefly wanted to highlight my staff, if I could. The Baseball Foundry is a majority woman-owned business. 98% of my staff are diverse, ethnically, religiously, socioeconomically. Clarkston is a target area for that specific reason. We have a diverse clientele, and we believe in the revitalization that Clarkston, the city of Clarkston, has worked so hard to work towards while maintaining its inclusivity. And let's face it, gentrification comes at a cost, but I think it can be done better and it can be done smarter. Ways to include programs for kids like Mr. Gomez stated that don't have the money and don't have the access.
Thank you for your time and your research, for your presentation, and the council will follow up from there.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just to make sure, a couple of housekeeping. If you have your cell phone, please turn it to mute or silent, everyone. Also, as it relates to those agenda items, we will have the public hearing as G1 and shift everything down, and we will have the city manager, Ms. Cowie, as the G6 item. Just want to make sure we clear that up. Now we'll move into reports. We'll start with planning and zoning and economic development report with Ms. Cowie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Council, the Planning and Economic Development Report, the Comprehensive Plan Update, known as the Clarkston 2040, has been posted for public comment. The draft report is listed on the city's website for your review. And also, we can have a hard copy available for your review at City Hall Annex. If you want to come in and review the document, please schedule an appointment with me so we can have that document available for you. I will go in a little bit more detail during the public hearing about the comprehensive plan update. The zoning rewrite consultants are currently drafting the analysis for the diagnostic report. This information is based on the survey results, the mapping, your comments, your public input, any edits that you may have had up to this date since our commission of the zoning rewrite with the consultants pond. So this information will be available to the public by transmission from PON on September the 17th. So we should have the diagnostic report available at that time. And that will end my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Council. Any questions? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Cowie.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Gomez.
Thank you, Mayor. And all of you received earlier today an email, our general fund and other funds, revenues and expenditures report. Really, the only things I wanted to, we are 2/3 of the way through our fiscal year. Our fiscal year is January 1 to December 31st, just at the the top page. And also, there are copies of the agenda in the back, and there are copies of the page that I am referencing currently for anybody here in the audience. But just to quickly go over this, as I said, we're 2/3 of the way through the year. Our general fund expenditures and total for the year so far, just under $4,100,000, or about 60% of our total expenditure budget. And again, our revenues were at about 25% of our total annual revenues so far through August the 31st. Really no significant changes from the prior month to the current month. I did want to highlight, moving to our SPLOST fund, we continue to see very positive, and you have a copy of that on the back of that report as well, that our SPLOST fund continues to do very well. We received just over $187,000 last month, and we are trending very well above our budget for the current year. Again, if any has any questions or anything or any specific details, you can reach out certainly to myself or Mr. Defnall, our finance director, for any other specific questions. And just a reminder, this coming Saturday, September the 11th, is the Clarkston Tell Me a Story Festival at the Georgia Piedmont Technical College location down the street. And I wanted to thank everybody for coming out Friday to the Streetscape celebration that occurred Market Street and East Ponce. And we are obviously looking to finalize 100% that project, which there one sidewalk section left, but wanted to update that our other construction projects continue on Rowland Street, mainly from Market Street down to Lovejoy, with the addition of sidewalk and curbing and driveway connections. And then hopefully within the next 30 days, the city's contractor will begin the next capital project to install sidewalks along Market Street and to resurface that street as well. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gomez. Any questions? Hearing none, we will move to the city attorney's report.
Nothing to report this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
I got a quick question
Yes.
to our city attorney. In light of retirement of our city clerk, I got asked a question by a resident that how will it impact, since she is the superintendent of our elections as well, the person that we hire hopefully soon, do they have to be specifically qualified to be a superintendent as well?
I'm not aware of any qualifications for that position. The state law says that the city clerk is presumed to be the municipal election superintendent unless the city government appoints someone else. So I think whatever certification, if any, is necessary to be a city clerk would cover that. But you've raised an important issue, which is that we absolutely have to have a municipal election superintendent. Obviously, we need a city clerk as well. But if for any reason we're not able to fill both positions at once, we could look at asking DeKalb County's Board of Elections to fill that role for us, or just hiring someone on a part-time basis to handle our municipal election needs for this year.
And is there a deadline for us to do that decision?
Well, so, I mean, there's the call of the election has already occurred. The next thing to do is publish a notice, which Ms. Ashby has graciously helped us with this week, and that's going to be taking place. So I guess the deadline would just be the election date. Or, you know, honestly, I don't know what all goes into that role. So if there's probably some interactions that the municipal election clerk has with the county board of elections, which actually conduct it. So I don't want to say we would have to look into that.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's safe to say the sooner we get both positions filled, the better.
All right. So we'll talk about it with the council and the mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
They would have to attend a training session, and the information that Tracy put together for us as she was leaving, the superintendent would have to attend the training.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And well, since he said something, so is that training provided only at a specific time? So I just want to know.
No, it's virtual.
It's virtual anytime.
Right.
Okay.
And the current advertising, we are currently advertising for a city clerk, as I shared with the council. The qualifications in that include that part of the role is to serve as the elections superintendent.
Thank
so
you.
Clearly, whoever the vetting process will incorporate that. Ultimately, the council appoints the city clerk.
Thank you.
And may I ask, Mr. Gomez, are you getting any responses?
Yes, we've received several.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, then we will move to our council reports. We will start with Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On August the 25th, I had the pleasure of attending Homeless DeKalb's my first homeless committee meeting, where we carved out the need in the DeKalb County area for homeless services. And we're working now on next steps, how we can be an asset countywide. So it's a representative from each county, basically collaborating to see what the problem is, how to fix the problem together. And I also attended the streetscapes ribbon cutting on Friday. It was really, really nice. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. And that's about it for me, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Hopkins.
Oh, no report.
Okay. Vice Mayor Yasu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did attend last month on August 3rd, the National Police Night Out. And I guess Councilmember Johnson forgot to report on the Savannah convention that we attended. Me and Councilmember Johnson, we attended the GMA Georgia Municipal Association's annual convention. And I took 2 core classes, building community capacity through tourism and also making cultural diversity work. One of the agenda items that we had on the work session was the result of that course that I took, and we will be discussing more and as we go further, but those were 2 things that I attended, and we did have a chance to get to know a lot of network and with other elected officials. On the 21st of August, I did attend health fair and did receive my first COVID jab. And I want to thank the city staff, the city manager for being there the whole time and giving us $50 gift cards. And on the September 3rd as well, I did attend the completion of the Streetscapes project. Those were all the events that I attended. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I also attended National Night Out. And then I was planning on being at the Savannah conference with the other council members and had a family medical emergency. So beyond that, I have nothing else to report. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll.
Yes, I also attended National Night Out. It was a nice event despite the weather. I thought the city staff and city manager did a great job of putting it on. Also attended the Streetscapes ribbon cutting, and I enjoyed that event as well. It's good to see the community out, and it's good to see the streetscapes almost finished. I think there's just a few little items left, but I think it's definitely a big improvement in the city of Clarkston. I've heard a lot of compliments from people that like the new look of the city, so I appreciate that as well.
And Councilman Hassan.
No report.
Okay. Thank you, council members, and I'll do the mayor's report. On August 11th, we hosted the Clarkston Job Fair with more than 30 hiring businesses. Special thanks to WorkSource DeKalb, Georgia State, Georgia Piedmont Technical College, Clarkston International Bible Church, GoPuff, and Levitt's Funeral Home. August 14th, I attended the Ivory Coast Expo and had the opportunity to meet the ambassador from the Ivory Coast. On August 18th, I attended the Council for Quality Growth reception for elected officials. On August 19th, I participated on Public Rewind radio show focused on Afghanistan and the impact of refugees within our community. On August 19th, attended the Georgia House of Representatives Study Committee on Maximizing Global Talent. And August 19th, attended the DeKalb Municipal Association meeting. August 21st, attended the Clarkston Health Fair. August 26th, I hosted the Women's Equality Day with Mayor Motley Broom from College Park and Mayor Ingram from East Point. August 27th, attended the Georgia Power Substation meeting. August 30th, attended Georgia State Prevention Research Center Community Board meeting, also with Vice Mayor Yasu. And August 31st, continued the participation of the Mayor's Institute with the focus on workforce development. August 3rd, attended the Streetscapes ribbon cutting program. And August 4th, spoke at the WOW Expo at Atlantic Station. And that concludes my report. At this time, we will have public comments. Any member of the public may address the council during the time allotted for public comment. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comments at the discretion of the presiding officer. The public comment period will be limited to 40 minutes, and it is not a time for dialogue. If your public comment contains a series of questions, please submit those to our city manager in writing. This will facilitate following up by the staff and council. The city council desires to allow an opportunity for public comment. However, the business of the city must proceed in an orderly, timely manner. Mr. Gomez, who online signed up?
Mr. Medford.
Okay, I'm start time.
Wow, this was supposed to be just a short, quick meeting, and it's really turned into quite the exciting event. Almost feel like there's been a bait and switch here. We've got smart gentrification of our main park. We've got a changing of the guard as city manager. We have a odd rush to get the LCI out. Seems like a very busy time for unknown reasons. And I'm kind of afraid to ask why. The LCI hearing tonight, I've been digging through. I'm fairly sure adding this at the last minute does not pass open records laws. I read the LCI this afternoon when I saw it pop up. It's full of typos. If we send that to anybody official in any manner, we'll be a laughing stock. So run it through spell check first. The presentation was entertaining. Not sure who greenlit that one, but I have kids who played baseball and soccer, and by far, it was far more expensive for me to pay for my kids to go play baseball somewhere than it was to get them in a soccer program. I am not interested in seeing my own field portioned out so a bunch of people from Buckhead can come play baseball for their kids. Although the speeding ticket revenue on Norman Road should be fantastic. So there would be that one upside. I just think this meeting tonight is a little suspicious. That's what I'm saying. Just a tone. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gomez, anyone else signed up?
Sarah Zagami.
Ms. Zagami.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was encouraged to speak by Councilman Carroll, because I ran into him at the Streetscapes event this past weekend. Our family was there, and he remembered that our 11-year-old son has a great interest in baseball. And we had noticed that Ms. Hart was going to speak about the baseball Foundry tonight. And so I found her presentation to be very interesting. We have lived in Clarkston for about 6 years. We're close neighbors to Milam Park. We only live about a quarter of a mile up Nielsen Drive. And my son plays baseball regularly there at the park. So I'm definitely interested in improvements to the park. In terms of baseball, he has a number of international friends that are also interested in baseball, don't know a lot about baseball. And so he's had an interest in trying to get something started with some of his refugee friends to help encourage baseball in Clarkston. And so I was wondering if a partnership with the Baseball Foundry might be something to further that. I want to thank all of you on the council for your wonderful questions, because I have many of the same questions as well about affordability and priority being given to Clarkston residents. But I mostly just want to speak out and say, yes, there are youth in Clarkston interested in baseball and wanting to play baseball at Milam Park. So please consider it, but also consider it carefully, as I see you doing, so that we don't have people coming in, like Brian said, from other parts of the city where they already have a ton of opportunities to play baseball. I also think the soccer part is interesting as well, because of course soccer is very much loved in Clarkston too. So definitely interested in seeing improvements to Milam. And thank you all for making sure that whatever choices are made benefit residents of Clarkston, and especially our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gomez, anyone else?
Got a request from a Mrs. Clark with Herbert Clark.
Okay.
But I don't see them on.
Mr. Herbert Clark, he's here in person.
In person, okay. Then not on Zoom, in person.
Okay.
Then Dean Moore.
Okay. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore?
No, I didn't sign up to speak.
Okay.
Those are all the ones.
Okay. And then we'll proceed with the audience. Ms. Amina.
Good evening, ma'am.
Can you speak to the mic? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about my mic. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and Mr. Steve. For a long time, I have never seen you. City Manager, good evening too. Okay, I have something very serious to talk today. There is something going on, and I don't know if you know. The accused and what do you call Larry, he was picking yard sign. When I call Larry and tell him your yard sign was been painted with a red cover. His face was painted. So I didn't have a right. And I told him, I'll go to pick. So he was passing over there and pick his yard sign. But they're accusing him like he was picking a yard sign for Dinmo, which was a lie. The yard sign was being painted was for Larry. And chief of the police, she take things seriously and called the police station where he works to be fired. That was not right. Why she could not talk to you, City Council member, and Steve, Mr. Steve, I'm so sorry to call you Steve, Mr. Steve. And they decide her and city manager to do something, him to be fired. And these things we could, you members of City Council and mayor, you could decide about this. Because most of black people who was working in police department has a very bad issue here. They was running from the job. I don't hate her, I love her, she's my friend. But she has to love the black African American who are working in Department of Clarkston Police. And this is very big issue. because we are not here to divide white and black or Mexicans or any color. No, we have to be people of God and love each other. What she caused to Larry, this is very serious. And I think you guys can investigate about this.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Clarkston City Council members and City of Clarkston manager. As we spoke last months, and then before that, the repeal of 19-433, the intended purpose is not doing what you guys thinking doing. It's just hurting more employees in our business. And instead of, we have a voice complaint from our neighbor, which is still going. We have 3 or 4 calls after this repeal. And I just don't understand what's the purpose of this repeal. If we still have continuous calls from the neighbor and complaining the same thing. And then they're supposed to stop the complaint, but it's not. That's the purpose of the complaint. It's not about the hours. It's not about anything. Police come out, they don't find nothing, and they just leave them. And then the emails keep coming to you as I see it. But nobody asking question, this he's doing complain the right way, or he just complain and get the report or anything. I'm outside every day at night. When he call complaint, I don't see anything outside. Police arrive. It just misleading you guys and misleading the business to misleading to somewhere else. I don't know where it's going, to be honest. So really, I want you to consider in this, what's going on behind this. We so far, we're losing employees. We lost our almost 55, 60% of our sales, our business. And we get this in 2 years. And most of the city councils, they study about this and they grant us to operate at that time. But right now, instead of, it's not helping nobody. So please, if you give give it more attention and look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Chief.
I'm Sergeant Johnson. I'm with the Veterans American Legion. One of the things is we got a problem. We got a new breed of people here in Clarkston, and they are veterans. And you was talking about homeless. And what I have here is what we're going to try to bring to Clarkston to try to take care of the veterans population of homelessness. One of the things I thought about is, now, and my house burned up in Gainesville, and I was transplanted here by the VA. And it's been a lot of people come to Clarkston, and it's a lot of veterans here in Clarkston right now that I know of. And I know in the complex I stay in, some people say that's a few, but I know it's more than a few here in Clarkston. Out of sight, out of mind. And some of the things that we are proud for people. We are combat trained. We love community and family. And one of the things I want to bring to make an appeal to you all to come and just help this community, because we do what we want to on the times that the community is in trouble, but we need to do it all the time because we have kids, we have women, we have people that need to be protected in the communities that we live and love. And one of the things that I have brought to the table is that I want to work with a men's think tank here to come together, men of all races, colors, and creeds, so we can come up with some ideas to combat whatever the problems are here in Clarkston. Because one thing I know, the VA is going to help, because there are some things that is on the table now about the Afghans that are coming here. They are trained, but they still gonna need to meet other military people that are in their lives that was dying to protect this country. And we should be able to welcome them in Clarkston and surrounding counties with love and dignity. So this is something I want to try to partnership with. I'm a nonprofit, and I also work with the American Legion, which is fully behind the idea of saving our homeless veterans. And they're coming. They are coming. And we got young people from America that are coming home. And we need to be ready for them with something here in Clarkston. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Thank you for your
Johnson.
service.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I want to make sure anybody else. Okay.
What's going on, everybody? It's more of a question that I have for city manager and the city council members.
Just as a correction, this is public comment. You make your comment.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll make my comment. Last time we was here, you know, we said a lot. And one thing we kind of wanted to know was there've been a lot of noise complaints and violent activities that was going on. I've asked the city manager to, if he could, to provide me with any proof of any violent activity that took place at Ponce, any noise complaints that took place coming from Ponce. And so far I've been getting a lot of runaround. I mean, for the past 3 weeks, I haven't seen him in his office. That's fine. But prior to that, I've called, I've tried to talk to him face to face, and yet I'm still getting the same runaround. So my main concern is when can we get that proof that we're running a violent business, quote unquote? When can y'all prove to us that we're not supposed to operate as a business because we're violent? Why do we have to keep getting the runaround every time we ask for a proof? Like he stated, 65 to 68% of our business is gone. We're losing people left and right. We're not benefiting anything. And yet the people we count on seem to have no problem with it. So when can y'all provide us with a proof so we don't have to keep coming here wasting our time? So when can y'all do that? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I mean.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor.
Now I'm talking to the mic.
Okay, yes, now I remember. So it's the same thing like we talked last month about Ponce Leon. So many of the students, they cannot pay their school and their rent because they left their job. And Mayor, you are there. City Council are here. I need you to see what's going on. For one man complaining, using force to the police station. I mean, it's a false information. to talk about there is a violence there and there is no violence. And why he cannot be charged? Where they are still when your guy's punishment pumps the lunch people. That guy could be charged, false information to call the police at night and no violation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That will conclude our public comments at this time. We will now start with old business F1, which is to approve electric vehicle EV charging stations license agreement with Georgia Power to install electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Clarkston. Ms. Cowie.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The initial agreement was to approve the city entering into a charging station license agreement. The initial agreement was to approve the city entering into a charging station license agreement with Georgia Power Company that will allow for Georgia Power to install an electrical vehicle charging station for public usage at no cost. There were a few action items that council requested for additional information on, and one was the fee for the charging station. There is no fee, no user fee. A driver will only pay a flat rate of 25 cents per minute while connected to the charger. And whether or not Georgia Power will add a user fee to the public, they were working with the legal team to add a no user fee section to our current agreement, and they have done that. So they have updated the contract to say no user fees to our contract. And can the city have a no charge for city vehicles that may be used at that location? Again, customary for Georgia Power to offer only 30 days of complimentary charging upon commissioning of the charging to bring awareness to the new site. All drivers after the 30 days period will be charged, again, the 25 cents per minute while connected to the charger. Currently evaluating the potential for alternative pricing policy for municipal and commercial fleets, but they haven't implemented that standard as of today. I think Councilwoman Johnson had an additional question on the voltage of the location. It was 277, or I think it was 480 voltage, which is 30 to 60 minutes, which is up to 80% of its capacity during that charging. And that again will depend on the vehicle and the outside temperature during the charging. And that is the additional information that I have, Madam Mayor and City Council.
Thank you, Council. Do you have any additional questions?
Not a question per se, but I think our police fleet cars, they're not electric. I think they're hybrid. So there is no, I don't know if the city have any.
We don't have any electric vehicles currently.
We don't have any. So I really don't see any use for that 1 month even to consider. But thank you for all that new information.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Hopkins.
I do have a question. I did quite a bit of research between last week and this week on this. And I understand that the industry is now moving more towards charging by kilowatt hour than by time or minutes, because it does vary with the type of vehicle, the type of plug, the temperature outside. Is Georgia Power doing that at any of their sites, or is that something they are moving into at all?
They did not give additional information. They have a Make Ready program that funds infrastructures for additional charging if we would like to participate in that program, but that is a different separate agreement from tonight. So I can't provide that additional information at another meeting for you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Vice Mayor Yasu.
I move to approve an electric vehicle EV charging station license agreement with Georgia Power to install electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Clarkston.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we approve electronic vehicle charging stations license agreement with Georgia Power to install electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Clarkston. Is there any other discussion? Okay, now you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Motion passed. Thank you, everyone. And we'll move to the new G1 item, which is the public hearing to discuss the transmission of the Clarkston 2040 Comprehensive Plan update to the Atlanta Regional Commission and Department of Community Affairs. Ms. Cowie, would you give further explanation as to this item?
Yes, this item is just on the agenda to let the public know that there is a draft document available for public input. This document has been uploaded to the city's website as of last week for your public comments. Transmittal of the actual document will not be sent to the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Department of Community Affairs until the public review period has ended September the 9th, with transmittal being September the 10th. The plan elements were major developments that was based on the vision and goals, the needs and opportunities, the community work plan, broadband services, land use, economic development, transportation, and housing. The pre-submittal hearing that we're having tonight to let the public aware that we do have a draft document available for their review is to have this public hearing for the purpose of briefing the community on the contents of the plan, which they can review online and in person during city hours. During the City of Clarkston's, on the City of Clarkston's website or in person at the City Clarkston City Hall Annex between our open office hours of Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you would like to review the document, please feel free to contact me, Joanna Cowie, and my email address is sqawiy@cityofclarkston.com. Residents are to make their final suggestions, additions, or revisions, and to notify the community of when the plan, again, will be submitted to the Atlanta Regional Commission, who has also helped draft the document along with the transmittal to the Department of Community Affairs. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And as a follow-up to that, please make sure in terms of any updates or corrections that we make sure there aren't any typos or anything related to the document. Just so as a point of reference, again, this didn't necessarily have to be a part of your report. You just wanted to make sure that this was acknowledged and available for the community to know, and to give the community the opportunity, if they wanted to have any more input, to have it at this time, but they can still do it from now until Friday. Is that correct?
That
okay.
is correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll take comments from the council, and then we'll move into the public hearing. Vice Mayor Yasu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to quickly ask, so this comprehensive plan, wasn't it the one that was written in 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Yasu, it is time for an update to our community work plan. Is actually what the main element of the comprehensive plan update. We've done projects, and our consultant engineer Larry Kaiser can affirm that as well. We have done projects that have been completed or underway, or we just eliminated them altogether. So the community work plan, as far as the city of Clarkston is concerned, it needed to be updated. And we've done that process with public hearings and public involvement, and even a joint public hearing with the zoning rewrite team.
Okay, awesome. And do we have to vote on this today, or it's just, okay, I got you.
It
was for informational purposes.
Awesome.
Right, and not to have this just bundled up into our economic and zoning report. And this is just A, to acknowledge that we're going to have it available until the 10th. B, if any additional comments, to allow the public to have that. But we, again, have had many opportunities for the public to provide comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments from the council?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Is this link available on our website?
It is. That's the comprehensive plan.
Under what?
Actual link, the Clarkston Comprehensive Plan 2021 should have everything on the website. Is it the Clarkston 2040 update plan or the City of Clarkston website where the draft document is available?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I'm looking on the website.
Yeah.
And if I can't find it, they're not.
The easiest thing is to go on the search and just type in Clarkston 2021 update. Clarkston 2021 update, and it'll, after you click enter, it'll bring you up to the Clarkston zoning rewrite and 2021 comprehensive plan update.
It's also on the front page right
It
now.
is on the front page of our homepage as well.
It's on the front page.
Right next to
I'm
tonight's
sorry,
agenda.
yeah, scratch what I just said, just go right to the homepage, excuse me.
Correct.
I see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council at this time? Hearing none, Mr. Gomez, does anyone on the Zoom would like to make a comment at this time? And you're free to raise your hand.
You have Mr. Medford.
Okay, Mr. Medford.
Yeah. This should not count as any sort of public hearing. This is ridiculous. This is getting run past the public. This is 74 pages. I have tried to read through it today quickly. I'm a proofreader and an editor. And as I'm glad that you're going to have somebody address the typos and whatnot. There is some information in there that's very interesting to read. Expecting the public to now suddenly have to jump on it and get 2 days to turn around. This is not kosher. It's not. I don't know why we're speed running this. And it makes me very nervous to ask what's going on. I don't see why this is being rushed to be sent off. I mean, I read as much as I could of the document. It's very interesting. The research is very eye-opening. I think everybody else needs to read it as well. But why this is being rushed, this is a bad look, folks. This is a bad look. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cowie, was there a schedule in terms of the document?
The schedule as far as the initial presentation from January to today?
And needing to be sent to the Atlanta Regional Commission?
Yes, by today, the last of the public comments was slated for August the 31st for the completion of the document itself.
Okay.
It needed to be reviewed by the public and for staff and by council by the September month, the month of September, so that we can transmit the document to the Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission with having enough time for us to secure our adoption and completion date by October the 31st.
Okay.
So technically the document is to be slated for completion and update so we can stay in compliance by October the 31st. We're actually giving you enough time. If the public wishes to have enough additional time to review the document, we have no problem with having it up on the site an additional week or two for review. We just wanted to make sure that we stayed within our timeline.
Sure. Yeah, I would suggest that we maybe bump it back by at least a week. And if I could suggest as well, on the website, it doesn't necessarily indicate if you're reading the headline that there's a feedback option. And so if I could
until you
suggest
actually click on the document and read the wording that it is an update, we can make it.
I would just suggest in the
update.
future, just in terms of if we're trying to garner or invite public input, that we sort of say, public input, opportunity or something like that in the headline, just from best practices in web development or communication. That's usually kind of people are going to be scanning through and they may or may not realize there's an opportunity for that. And I know you all have a lot on your plate, so I understand
Understood,
that.
because we're in transition with who handles our website at this time.
Absolutely.
So we understand that. Thank you.
So that'd be my suggestion. If we could bump it back a week, maybe push it to our social media and just say, hey, it's an opportunity. I think that'd be great.
I will do that.
Perfect.
Transparency.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments or hands, Mr. Gomez?
Susan.
Who's Susan Hood?
Susan Hood.
Okay, Ms. Hood.
Yes, I unmuted my here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Yes, I just want to reiterate what's been said. Perhaps I was asleep at the wheel, but I am very surprised to see this document almost wrapped up and sent off. And nobody I know has been aware that there is basically a final draft available for review. So thank you for changing the schedule. I would like to see the city get that word out far and wide throughout the city. I may not be the only person that somehow missed that this is a critical point in reviewing this very important document. So please put a schedule on the homepage, put it in the e-newsletter, put it on the reader board, send out an email blast, put it on our social media and anything else to let citizens know that now is the time to take a look at this. This document is so important to the future of our city. It simply cannot be underestimated because of its link to our zoning ordinance. And that is not to be taken lightly. So thank you very much for doing this. And I look forward to being able to have time to review this document.
Thank you, Ms. Hood. And just as a question, what would it do to us if we push this to the next council meeting? How would that have an impact? I just want to find out.
As a basic question, the implications could be that the Atlanta Regional Commission comes back with more edits that we have to amend the document itself, and then we have to bring it back for the public to review. Additional comments or edits from the Department of Community Affairs. They may have additional edits or comments. So you have these two entities submitting for edits or updates if it's not approved through their organizations at that time. And of course, I would, based on transparency, would like to bring it back to the mayor and city council and the public to post for them to review those changes that may be in that document. Okay. Again, we are still trying to be in compliance and make sure that we meet our October 31st deadline. So it will be dependent on how they review the document, how fast we make those amendments, how fast the public can review them again, and then we send them back to ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission and Department of Community Affairs, DCA, for their final approval.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gomez, were there any other comments?
None on Zoom.
Okay, and in the audience, are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Councilman Perkins.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question. Would you recommend, then it sounds like there will be an opportunity for the public to continue to review. Based on the timeline and your experience in that, would you recommend we go ahead and send this draft knowing there will be an opportunity for longer review of the public to also look at the feedback? Or would it be better
would not send it at this time for the additional comments. If we submitted the information to the Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission at that time, we would just have a filter of comments based on a working document or a Google Docs, how we all work on the document at one time together. Mm-hmm. So if that's a preference that you would like, at this time, I will suggest that we hold off on actually submitting the transmission to ARC and DCA this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To when?
Till next week,
okay.
a date.
Okay, so we'll just make sure 16th. In terms of documenting it, we're looking at the 17th. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so we've changed the deadline to the 17th, allowing the public to provide any additional feedback.
Yes.
Is that acceptable for the council?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cowie. We'll proceed with G2 now, which is to approve the award of a construction contract to Omshave construction for the Market Street sidewalk installation and resurfacing capital project SPLOST 08. And that would be Mr. Gomez and Mr. Kaiser.
This item is to approve awarding the construction of the Market Street sidewalks, road and street improvements, including Carroll Park Drive, to Omshave Construction in an amount not to exceed $893,905.25. Omshave was not the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder did not meet all of the requirements of the bid and therefore were disqualified. So Omshave is now deemed to be the lowest bidder. Upon approval of the agreement, they may begin within 30 days. It is estimated the project will take approximately 150 days, weather pending.
Okay.
I
Yes.
got a quick question. So what are the reasons that the first bidder was not qualified for? The main one, I mean. The lowest
Go ahead,
bidder.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kaiser.
Councilman, good evening. The primary reason, actually the only reason, is that the prime contractor must do 60% of the work themselves. And the reason for that is a history of consultants or construction managers coming in, putting together a team of subcontractors and trying to manage a very large team of subcontractors. And so the most governments either have a 50 or 60 or 75% prime contract handling prime majority of the work. And so I incorporate, as I do with all my contracts for all my clients, a minimum of 60% of the contractor work must be done by the prime contractor, which is Omshave. They can subcontract all the other work. So as I look through the bid schedule of items, the cost and how they broke it out for each line item, concrete and asphalt and so forth and so on, immediately popped in my head that the prime contractor is a paving contractor. They don't do sidewalk work. And so I called both the prime contractor and one of their subs last weekend, and I said, clear this up for me. Show me, prove to me that you, Magnum Paving, will do a minimum of 60% of the work. Couldn't do it. So disqualified.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Yes.
Sorry, do you want to? Okay.
Okay, Councilman.
Move that we approve the bid for Omshave Construction to award the contract for the Market Street sidewalk and resurfacing Market Street with the qualification that they add 5 easeabouts, not 4, with the 5th one coming before the curve on Market Street.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we approve the contract for, I always say his name right. Omshave construction for the Market Street sidewalk installation and resurfacing capital project with the qualification to add 5 easeabouts. Is there any discussion? The easeabouts. He only had 4. We wanted to make sure that it says 5. Okay. You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed. We'll move on to approve the planting of a memorial tree at Friendship Forest. Vice Mayor Yasu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And we did discuss this thoroughly at the work session, and the City Council has received a request from a family friend of Miss Hardy, Blanche Hardy, who passed away a few months ago, and it was her last wish to be cremated. Her cremated remains be made into a tree and planted in a Clarkston. And that's where she grew up as a child, and that was her wish. And at this point, my recommendation is to send it to the Environment Committee and Environment Transportation Committee so that we can discuss it further and see what we could do. There were a few considerations that we had. We want to make sure that it's going to be native species plant, and we already mentioned that all the costs will have to be paid by the family of the deceased, and we want to see what else that the committee wants to add. So my recommendation at this point is to send it to the Environment Transportation Committee.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Yes, Councilwoman Johnson.
That I thought she acknowledged all of those terms and was fine with it.
Yeah, but some questions came from residents about what if we want to put a plaque, or if we want to. So I think the best thing to be is just to it's not really urgent. So to just make sure be prudent and be considerate of the neighbors who live in that park, and also our residents in general. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to that.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor. I move to send for further study of the memorial tree planting at Friendship Forest.
And I second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we approve to approve the planting of memorial tree and send that to the environmental committee. Is that correct? I want to make sure I get the.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed. We'll move on to approve the allocation of an additional ARPA 2021 funding for vaccination and communication. Councilman Carroll.
Yes, so the city has been doing a program where they give $50 gift cards for local businesses for people that are getting vaccinated. And we initially allocated $10,000 for that program. And the good news is it got used up, is that it was a success. More people became vaccinated. I think at least partly it's a result of the incentive of getting $50 gift card. So what we've suggested now is adding another $50,000 to be give for $50 gift cards to local businesses for residents or residents in the 30021 area code to get vaccinated. And we also have suggested adding some additional budgeting. I believe the $10,000 amount was suggested to communicate to people that this gift card's available, just so it's widely known to the public that they can go get vaccinated and get a $50 gift card. So the idea is that hopefully if everyone can get vaccinated, we can limit the spread of COVID, which has really affected, of course, the world and our community in particular.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this agenda item? Yes, Councilwoman Hopkins.
Specifically, what businesses are the gift cards for?
Gift cards are purchased for Dollar General and then just generic Visa gift cards. The Visa gift cards do come with a fee, $4.95.
Okay, thank you.
So they can be used at any store. So I had a question about who we actually issue those cards to, whether we issue it to everybody, whoever comes and uses this, because our rationale is to help to make sure our residents are to increase the vaccination rate within our city. But if we advertise this to our residents, yet overall majority of the people who are going to be using it are going to be outside from the city limit. I mean, I'm not against it, but I just see we're not going to hit the goal of increasing the numbers in the city. So I'm really not sure how we can use it. At first, we said we're going to do only for residents, and then we expanded it to 30021. And I understand that it was making it difficult to kind of discriminate on who you give it to, basically. And but I really don't see how it's going to be effective, if it's going to be, and how we're going to track how this is going to be increasing the number within the city limit if we are giving those cards to everybody who comes to the city. So I really am not sure about the effectiveness if we don't target who we give it to. So I'm not against it, but I just have a feeling it's not gonna do the intended effect if we don't direct it to our residents only.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Yasu. I guess part of the thing is that the intended effect is to get people vaccinated, number one. That bottom line is to get people vaccinated. Number two, we're trying to make sure any type of activities that we have within the city, that we encourage our residents. And as you saw at the health fair, many of them were people who walked to the event and were vaccinated. So we're messaging with our partners to ensure, and that's part of why we said the communication piece, to ensure that we educate our residents to know that this is available to them. So it's going to be the collaboration between the partners that we have on the ground, with us making sure that anytime we have events, and we work with CORE and others to do it. We can also follow up with CORE and the other people who are doing vaccinations to make sure in terms of who is receiving the actual vaccines to know the number. So it's going to be ongoing reporting and processes. And so that way we will achieve the ultimate goal, was to make sure that people are vaccinated.
So from so far, how many of those people who got vaccinated actually do live in the city limit? Do we know?
Not right now, but we have that list of everyone who has received one, and we can go through all those addresses and let you know.
So how do we know it's been effective so far?
Because people are getting vaccinated. That's the effectiveness,
I'm saying,
Mr. Vice Mayor.
I'm saying to say that it's been effective increasing the vaccination rate within our city limit. I'm talking about. I'm not
As
saying.
I said, we will provide you all the addresses. You'll be able to look through them, and we'll identify which ones are in Clarkston and in Clarkston, which ones are not. If you want to, we can only allow Clarkston residents. If that's the direction, then that's what we will do. Otherwise, it'll be for anybody who shows up to get vaccinated. But however you would like for staff to proceed, just let us know.
Yeah, I totally understand. I'm trying to see the numbers because we're not asking where somebody lives, if they
We
live.
are asking,
If not,
we have their address, as I said. We have their address.
Yes, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but I'm just trying to see what are the numbers right now to say that this program has been effective is within our city limit. I'm not talking about the people who got vaccinated outside our city, who live outside our city limit. So I would like to definitely know how many of them are actually residents of our city.
Okay, and we can, what we'll do is we'll follow up and send that out so that from a council perspective, we will know exactly percentage-wise are in the 30021 and anyone else. So again, thank you for bringing those points up and your concern, and we'll take that into account as a council. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilman Carroll.
One thing I would say is I think it does benefit Clarkston residents to have the surrounding areas be vaccinated as well, because we know that the spread of COVID, of course, is not limited just within Clarkston boundaries. So if everyone around you is vaccinated, it's more likely the community itself is safer, especially when if they come to a vaccination site in Clarkston, they probably also come here for other things, to shop or to visit friends or family or whatever it is. I would say there is some benefit to Clarkston residents to having surrounding areas be vaccinated as well as just Clarkston residents.
Okay, thank you. And just as a point that Mr. Gomez brought up, that each one of those cards cost $4.95, is that, or
The Visa ones, yes.
Okay, so you may want to take that into consideration when you make your motion, that you might want to make the motion for 55,000 instead of just the.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion at this point?
Yeah.
Yes, Councilwoman Hopkins.
I would just like to support what Councilmember Yasu is saying, in the sense that, I mean, I'm a data geek, and I don't think it hurts to say, I think it's benefiting everybody. But if we do have to have a city official there physically passing out the cards when people get vaccinated, don't we? They're not taking the responsibility like at Ethne Health of distributing these. So I think at the time we could do a quick check on each one and say, put a check mark on it if they live in Clarkston. Don't, if they don't, it would be very easy to do when you're actually distributing it, and just do a count on the percentage. And, so we're not saying, well, we think it's working, it's probably working, and most of the people are probably from Clarkston, but we have all that information available. So I think it never hurts to have too much information.
Not a problem.
If I may, to that point, I think that's what some of our discussion, was previously, is just the logistical challenges that presents, due to our city staff size. I'm with you. There's, definitely the more data we can get, the better. It helps with better decision making. I think we said, there's an acceptable level of risk, by saying we'll just check the zip code. To Councilman Carroll's point, we know COVID doesn't respect, the boundaries of city limits. And so I think that's where, our staff, I think, is making a wise decision within the capacity that they have. I think it's easy to check a driver's license. It's much harder, to look at you're not going to be able to tell by looking at a driver's license if someone lives within Clarkston or not, and so I think, I definitely support, raising the amount to cover any administrative charges that Visa, has connected to their cards. But I do think this would be beneficial, even if we have a few people just outside the fold of our city. It's still going to have a public health impact, a very direct public health impact on our constituents. So thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor Yassin.
I just want to correct the fact that I was the one who actually recommended to extend it to 30021 to make it easy for our city staff.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate all your input as we keep changing this. Thank you. So at this time, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion. Yes, Councilman Carroll.
I move that we provide $55,000 of the ARPA funding for gift card, $50 gift cards for COVID vaccinations, to preferably be given to those within the 3021 area code, but not necessarily if the staff's unable to administratively do that. And also that we allocate $10,000 for communications necessary to inform Clarkston residents of the gift card program so that it can be advertised widely in the city.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we allocate $55,000 of the ARPA funding for $50 gift cards, preferably for 30021 residents, if the staff is able to accomplish that, right? And then $10,000 for communication.
I got a question on that.
Sure.
It says 20,000 on the agenda, so why is it lowered to 10,000?
For communication?
Yeah.
And I thought we discussed 10,000. I'm not opposed to 20,000.
No, it is 20,000 on the agenda.
Okay.
10 because they're doing
Whatever
it
you
at the
want.
time.
Isn't that what you said?
10,000 is good. I second.
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll stick with this and
That's
move
fine.
forward with it. Okay. Any other discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passed. We'll move on to approve amending city manager agreement. We have before us for our consideration a separation agreement between the city of Clarkston and Robin Gomez. Mr. Gomez has served as city manager for nearly 3 years, and we appreciate his contributions to the city, particularly navigating the city through the coronavirus pandemic, completing the streetscapes project, and seeing the SPLOS project through to near completion. At this time, the City Council and Mr. Gomez have mutually agreed to amicable parting of ways, and the document before us would formalize that separation and end Mr. Gomez's time as city manager of Clarkston, effective September 17th. Do I have a motion to approve this separation agreement?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been properly moved and second that we approve this separation agreement. Is there any other discussion?
I would just like to thank City Manager Gomez for his service to the city of Clarkston, especially during the pandemic. I think that he did a good job allocating the rental relief, the mortgage relief, utility assistance. I know a lot of other communities had a lot of trouble allocating that. I know Clarkston was able to do it efficiently and effectively. So I do appreciate his service to the city.
Okay, we definitely do. Any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstention? Motion passed. We will now proceed to the next agenda item. And again, thank you, Mr. Gomez, for your service to the city. It has been truly invaluable. We will move to approve contract to appoint Joanna Cowie as interim city manager. Mr. Quinn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the city charter calls for there to be an interim city manager during a period where there is a vacancy in the office of city manager, which based on the last agenda item will occur on September 17th. And we have prepared a simple contract because the charter also states that there should be a written contract between the city and the interim city manager. So the individual that the council has indicated you would like to appoint is Ms. Cowie, our planning director. The one thing I would say is that she has not had much time at all to review this document. It's been a fast moving situation. So I would just suggest or propose that if the council wants to move forward with the appointment, that the motion include some leeway for the mayor to sign with any changes that don't impact the compensation that the council's offering. Should that be, mutually desirable, that the council motion would be to appoint Ms. Cowie interim city manager and to authorize the mayor and city attorney to sign a contract that is substantially similar to what's before us tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other discussion by the council at this time? Yes, Councilwoman Johnson.
Has Cowie received it already? Has she received the contract?
Yes, but just yesterday.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion by the council at this time?
Can you state the motion, sir? So you said authorize the mayor and the city attorney to...
My suggestion motion would be for the council to appoint Ms. Cowie interim city manager and to authorize the mayor to sign this contract or a substantially similar contract that's approved by the city attorney.
Well, Mr. Quinn, what falls within sort of the parameters of a substantially similar?
To me, like I mentioned, it would be as long as the compensation is the same. I don't know what might come up, but if there's some legal term, the alternative would be just to approve this contract. And if Ms. Cowie desires a change, that we would just need to vote
to amend it
at a subsequent time to make it official. Well, it wouldn't be an amendment because she wouldn't have approved it. I really don't think that there's going to be any issues, but I just want to give her a fair opportunity. She might want to have an attorney look at it, and she just hasn't had any time as far as business days.
I think my recommendation, I think, would be that we approve it as is. I'm a little uncomfortable signing off on something without being able to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. And then if we need to, we can always call a special call session. I think if it's a matter of urgency, if you review it, with the lawyer and, have any suggested changes or we need to kick something back, if the rest of the council is amenable to that.
I disagree. I think I would say, actually, I would rather approve it with the contingency that the city attorney mentioned.
Mr. Quinn, is it okay to ask Ms. Cowie, has she looked at that part? Because that's the only thing that we would have to revisit, is compensation.
It's okay with me to ask her.
I want to be as politically correct.
I think that
Ms. Cowie, okay, Madam Mayor, if you could take that lead.
Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Well, as Mr. Quinn has did state, I would like a little bit more time to
Okay.
review it and come back with additional comments.
Okay. So at this time, I will take a motion from, yes,
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
yes.
I move that we approve the contract to appoint Joanna Cowie as interim city manager and also authorize the mayor and the city attorney to sign this contract or other contracts approved by the city attorney.
I second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we approve Ms. Cowie, the contract for Ms. Cowie to be the interim city manager, and to authorize the mayor to sign the contract or a similar contract that is approved by the city attorney.
Did we say substantially similar in the
Substantially
motion?
similar.
I would like to say that.
Substantially similar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
I'm sorry, I can't approve a contract when we don't have the contract. I could do what Stephen said, that we could approve it as is, and then if there's something to be negotiated, we come back and negotiate. But, you know, or approve whatever requests that Ms. Cowie might have. But to say we're approving a contract, whatever that might be, is just doesn't seem very businesslike
We
to me.
did get it. The city council did receive it.
I'm sorry?
We did get the contract.
Well, but that's not what we're approving. We're approving this or something somewhat substantially similar to, which is the part that I'm not comfortable with. I would be comfortable approving this, and I would support that, and I would be comfortable coming back if there's additional changes to be made, but I'm not comfortable saying we're approving this and indefinite conditions. That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. So we do have a motion on the floor. You can either rescind the motion or vote as we have it.
We're ready to vote,
Okay,
ma'am.
so you ready for the question?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Anything else in terms of the agenda? I need to have it, we need to adjourn.
Sure. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.